Hello, everybody. I am Chris Cantor, the Vice President for Leadership here at the Broward County Council PTA/PTSA. I want to thank you for joining us for this final Leadership Series seminar of the year. Can you believe it? The last one. We've made it for a full year. You are to give yourselves a commendable pat on the back for the hard work that you have done and for continuing to hang in there in what has been a very rough year for many schools and many school leaders, not just throughout our county, our state, but also our entire nation. I want to thank you on behalf of our team and tell you that we are so very proud of the work that you have done and the work that you will do. The point of today's session will be to spend some time just briefly going through what we need to do to get our units in good order for the beginning of next year. And then what are some opportunities for us, right, over the summer and over the next few months or next month or so to get together and to fellowship with one another as a county council. I'm going to share those, and we really want to see you there. We're hoping that you will be part of this great work of coming together and sharing our successes. So let's hop right into it. I'm going to first share with you my screen, and on my screen, I'm going to share an email that we all should have that is our kit of materials email. And you'll see in this email, you should find this. If you haven't saved it earlier in the year, I always advise every year, save this in a folder called kit of materials in your email so that you can get to it quickly and easily to reference the materials that you need. I am old school. I print out the whole thing, right? It's a lot of toner, though. Don't put that amount of resources onto your PTA unless it's something you absolutely need. However, we're going to really focus in section 3 today because this topic today is about ending the year successfully, and we're going to start looking at what the audit looks like. And so when I go into section 3, our dollars and cents portion, which is section 3 of the kit of materials, comes up. Now, this is a vital section, not just for treasurers. Every single officer in your unit should be familiar with this section because it is such a heavy piece of compliance. And I just want to make sure that we're all kind of aware as to what that means, right, when we look for it. So I'm going to actually close some screens over here, and I'm going to take you to your index. You'll see that when we get to the index, the first thing I want to discuss with you is the audit, because we are at the end of the year. There's really no need now to worry about amending the budget unless there are just emergency funds that are needed. You're not building the budget for next year, right? You can't begin that work until your next board is in place. So the first thing that should be happening is your nominating committee at this time should be formed, and you should be getting ready, if you have not already had, your election meeting to elect next year's officers. That's the very first thing, elect next year's officers. Then we want to be sure that we get the year closed out in compliance and with a very strong ending so that we can set up next year's board for a very strong beginning. PTA audit is on page 48. Taxes are on page 51. So guess where I'm going, folks? Page 48. We're going to scroll all the way down to 48 because I really want to walk us through what is on the audit and what you can do to prepare for the audit ahead of time. I'll talk to you about different ways that units do this work and also some of my own recommendations. So here in the audit, you have the purpose of the audit is really accuracy, ensuring that your unit used best practices and that you're in good standing, right? We normally conduct an audit anytime there's been an issue, but also always at the end of your fiscal year, or the fiscal year ends for you June 30th. So you'll want to get your unit to a place where you're stopping your expenditures, right? All spending stops. You start the audit and then you begin next year. Spending should not occur between audit and audit transmittal to your CPA or whoever you're sending it to complete and the beginning of the year. Once it's out until it's returned, there is to be no spending. Okay, so we're going to conduct an audit because we're at the end of a 12-month period. Your 12-month period is July 1st to June 30th of every year. Okay, here's how this will work. You can appoint an audit committee, which I do highly advise. The executive board selects an audit committee of 3 members. And you can do that at your next executive board meeting. I think that May is always a good time to do that, right? Go ahead and get those people in place so that they can do this work over the summer. Make a definitive plan for when you will stop spending. You need to already have in mind what's our last day and the last check that we're going to spend, and then wait for those items to clear so we can get to audit, right? You do not need to be submitting your audit on June 15th and then writing a check on June 17th. All spending needs to get stopped, and then the audit get ready to be transmitted to your auditor or to your audit committee. I liked to, and I still think that the best practice is to wait to let those items get through a clearing stage. So really, I recommend, this is Chris Cantor recommending, that you stop all spending May 31st or May 30th so that you can get through a full cycle of reconciliation statements to give to your auditor on June 30th, right? Okay. So you're going to select 3 people, or you can hire a professional outside accountant, right? And that can be a professional auditor or a CPA before the end of the fiscal period. Now, I highly recommend that you submit the materials to the auditor early on in June, if possible, because on July 1st, you're going to want to start getting your team together to look at your budget. I have been known as a treasurer to not submit it until like July 1st or July 3rd, when the statements for June came out, and then the everything is just kind of frozen for spending until that time, right after that time. So whatever you choose to do, you're going to appoint that committee. They cannot be signers on your bank account. They cannot have handled PTA funds during this period. The people who are best for this are usually people who are not board members, that are just your regular volunteers, right? That can handle money. You probably don't want to assign a staff member from the school that's a member of your PTA to do it. My recommendation here is highly, 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 if you can afford it and it's already in your budget, send these to an accountant to prepare. Okay, then the treasurer submits all final records from the checklist as soon as the June 30 bank statement is available. Remember, we got to wait on that June 30 bank statement. But I would start getting the records stopped, clean, and clear, because you don't want to have any responsibility, if you're the treasurer or the president, for what happens after June 30th, so that your tour of duty, so to speak, is finished. The annual audit has to be completed so that you can file your 990, which is your tax return. And that's the first step, right? So how do we prepare it? Well, there's going to be a checklist, and you're going to see that here. I'm going to blow this up or make it larger for you. And I'll show you the sample here in a second. But there are a number of things that are going to be required. Your last annual audit is required. Go find that. It should be in your permanent records for next year, for future years. We keep audits perpetually. They do not ever, in our retention cycle, they do not ever go away. They're perpetually kept forever. So get last year's. All bank statements from the year. If you use Venmo, get those. If you use Square, all of the statements, not just the checking account, but any financial statement for the year needs to be handed in. The checkbook registered with the running balance. Now, some schools, this is handwritten. Sometimes it's QuickBooks or MoneyMinder, right? If you have MoneyMinder or QuickBooks, all you have to do is either export the register, or what I prefer, give your accountant access in QuickBooks Online. I think MoneyMinder can do the same thing, and they can go in and check your items online visually, right? Canceled checks. Now, here's the weird thing. You're not going to have all of your canceled checks in paper form, because if they don't get mailed to you. So you should be printing throughout the year those canceled checks when your bank shows them, or they should be showing on your bank statement with the photos of the check, so you can see who it's made out to, who signed it, what date it was canceled. You do need a physical copy of those canceled checks. That means whether it's already included in your statement as pictures, or if you go into the bank statement and print them off front and back and include them with the statements, you're going to need those, okay? All credit card statements, if you have them. All deposit records, so your deposit books go to the treasurer or to the CPA. Your all cash verification forms that you've signed off on throughout the year for deposits. pre-approval and post-authorization forms for purchases. This treasurer's ledger book. Now, back in the day, we used to keep a separate ledger book and separate transaction log or separate register, right? QuickBooks, they're interchangeable, so to speak. I mean, they're two different items, but they're both in QuickBooks and MoneyMinder. So don't worry about having two different accounts. Those are easy to find, or two different items. If there is any interim audit conducted, gather that. There's a lot to gather before we get there. So look at this page in your dollars and cents, page 49. Start delegating out to your team who can start collecting these documents. Get the physical documents, and I recommend putting them together in a binder. Okay. All the treasurer's reports from the year, every one, and then all of the minutes as well throughout the year. The copy of your final approved budget and amendments. Again, all your meetings, even your executive meetings need to be, executive committee meetings need to be documented. A current copy of the annual financial review audit, which is the form we're going to look at in a second. Your bylaws, a copy of your current bylaws should go in there because they're part of the audit. And then next, a filed copy of the IRS Form 990 from the previous tax year. So whatever you filed last year, that's the form that has to be included, okay? So a lot to find there to get to your accountant or to your audit team. You have some directions here for how to complete the audit. I'm going to tell you what I'm telling you does not mean you do not need to read this. You absolutely do, but I'm going to give you the highlights here, right? Once the audit is completed, in the audit, you're going to pay close attention. You're checking to make sure, does everything have an approval? Does everything have the right forms attached to it? Do we have two signatures? What are our internal controls, right? What have we done to make things work? And then after the audit, you submit the audit to Florida PTA, right here at Audit at Florida PTA. You can call us here at Broward PTSA for any help you need, any support, or any questions. This is what I want you to be really aware of. The purpose of the audit is not to find ahas and gotchas. The purpose of the audit is to find areas that you can shore up for following years. And then if there is a finding, to be able to document, here's what we're doing to fix that in the future. The audit is, yes, to ensure we've been held to the right standards, right? But it also is to ensure that we are keeping track of internal controls. And if there's a process that did not go well in FY23, that we create a plan to make it go well in FY24. That's really the purpose. It's to keep your unit accountable and toward continual improvement, okay? All right, that's the audit. I'm going to actually go to the form here in just a second because I want you to see that form and what it looks like. So let me get down there. I'm sorry that this is moving much slower than I would like for it to. Let's see. These are your tax forms. And as I'm getting there, we will go to taxes next. And that's going to be very important that we do review, and I'm going to refresh this screen, but it's very important that we do kind of review the terms for taxes. Most of you will file an electronic 990 online, and it's very simple, but you can't file that and actually have a good idea and understanding of what is entailed there if you don't actually have an audit in front of you and an audit completed. So let me, I'm going to open this a different way because it's taking way too long on the other screen. So I'm going to pull the PDF over. Pardon me, everybody, while I work on this little piece here. Okay, so as I pull this over, I'm going to scroll down to the appendices so that I can find the audit form. And I will know what it looks like once I see it over here in the box because I'm so used to seeing it so many times. Let's see, believe this is it. It is. So page 76 is your sample audit. Look, It's a fillable PDF. It's easy to do, right? But again, you're going to have to put all of your information here, then all of the copies that you've shown, right? If you don't have records due to an inactive year, you check this box, but most of you have been active. You're going to check the boxes. If you don't have it to submit, uncheck the box. There are questions on here that will be asked as you go. Does the amount shown on the first bank statement correspond to the starting balance in the checkbook? These are questions the auditor has to answer. And so these are things the auditor looks for when they audit. This really guides their audit. They'll say yes or no. Number 18, the number of memberships sold and the number of membership that were paid. Do they match? They're going to want to be able to find those. Did you use PTA verification forms? These are the things they're hunting for. If you get a no, it is not the end of the world. It just tells you this is something for our unit to work on and to shore up for future years. So please do not be scared to submit an audit simply because there is a no. What we're really wanting to help focus upon is that there is a plan to ensure that you're headed toward all yeses in future years, okay? No's happen, mistakes happen, and that's what this is about ensuring that we do our due diligence to the process, okay? Then finally, the outgoing treasurer signs it. The incoming treasurer signs it. This completes the outgoing treasurer's duty, and the incoming treasurer at that time becomes treasurer. The treasurer does not become treasurer the day after the last day of school, like the rest of the officers. They become the treasurer the day this audit is signed off on and completed by the outgoing treasurer, incoming treasurer, and auditor. Okay. Then there's a whole list of information here, right? What's the balance on hand? What were the receipts? What outstanding checks are still out there? We know what happens. Some things will not have cleared. I prefer for things to have been cleared. So I tend to stop spending in May so that we have a whole month for everything to get cleared. There are notes about reconciliation. And then finally down here, there's a note, the auditor checks. I've audited and find them to be correct. I've audited and I found a few problems and I make the few suggestions. Or I've audited and found significant problems that have to be reported to PTA immediately for assistance. That might be thousands of dollars are missing, right? That's not a matter of we have 4 checks that are missing 2 signatures. That would be, we have a few problems and I need to make some suggestions. And they will document those suggestions on a page called findings, okay? Or the audit committee will if they find these findings. If the audit committee finds missing funds, they need to attach detailed findings and recommendations. And then finally, they can check, I've attached our findings and recommendations to this form. On every audit, if it is not clean with everything is clean and everything's correct, which I've never seen an audit with 0 findings, there should be some findings of areas to improve upon and to consider for the future. Then box 1 would either be your first audit review member or your professional CPA that can sign there. Then the incoming president and incoming treasurer sign this. And then there's a whole conflict of interest statement that everyone signs. And actually, this is not, pardon me, that's not part of the audit. I don't know why I went there. The audit finishes on page 77. Okay. So very self-explanatory. All you have to do is follow the directions. But that means, like, did the PTA purchase insurance? And number 7, you're looking for an invoice for the insurance. You're looking for the insurance declaration page. And those are things to be reported because we do need to report all of this to Florida PTA to be in compliance and also to make sure that our internal controls are as clean as possible. Please reach out to us if there are any questions on that, or if you're struggling. Like, you know, we don't want this to be an aha gotcha. We want this to be a learning experience and an experience that continues to keep your PTA growing. So next, so that is due. You have to have your audit in. I want to be sure that I'm giving you the right date. So I'm going to go back up to page 48. I'll get there in a second. I'm pretty sure I know the date. I just don't want to give you wrong information. So I'll tell you that date in a second. Then by November 15th, your taxes have to be filed. I would say if you have a CPA, have the CPA do your taxes at the same time as the audit. It's usually not that expensive. Usually all you have to do is go online and file IRS Form 990, and it's an online form now. You file it electronically, you can Google it, and you're going to report the gross income and the revenue. Where do I get that? Great, it comes straight from the audit. It's on the audit report, right? Your accounting period is from July 1st to June 30th. So you're reporting everything from July 1st of 2022 to June 30th, 2023. And this has to be completed before November 15th. And remember, transmitted to the Florida PTA before November 15th would be my best advice for you. Okay. So depending on what your 3-year averages are, if you have a 3-year average receipts of less than right here of less than certain amounts, if you're greater than $50,000, your 3-year averages, you're not eligible to file Form 990 online. You can either file 990 EZ or 990, okay, the long form. So you're going to look at the last 3 years of receipts and divide them out by 3 and then figure out this PTA 75,000, 39,000, 42,000, average is 52,000. They can't file the 990N, which is an e-postcard. They have to file the 990 EZ. All that information is on page 52 of your dollars and cents. Please make sure that you refer to that and reach out to us if you need help in figuring that. There's also a wonderful chart here for you on page 53. Complete directions as to how to file the long form, the e-postcard, or the EZ filing form on page 53. And then more directions on those forms there. So the directions are pretty self-explanatory. Reach out to us if you have any questions or run into any issues. I'm not going to go line by line on these items. Most of you will qualify for a 990 postcard. Okay, but your auditor should be able to file these if you have a CPA. And again, if your PTA is forming an audit committee, then your audit committee can file them as well with those directions. They should get a copy of this dollars and cents menu, right, to know what to do. That's what, or not menu, pardon me, workbook. I would provide the entire handbook to them as well. So schedules and dates coming up. Your audit must be completed by August 31st. That's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure. August 31st, it must be completed and transmitted to the state, to Florida PTA. Your IRS 990 must be in the Florida PTA office by November 30th. I would get it done before the 15th, get it finished out of the way. I would say get it done the same time as your audit. I mean, there's no reason to hold on and get that done. Your bylaws have to be renewed every 3 years. We would go through that as a team to talk about what that needs to look like as well. And you'll get emails on that, but as you form your units for next year, we'll be in touch with you about where you are with your bylaws too. If you know that your bylaws have the date at the top, if it's been 3 years or more, file new ones, right? And the directions are within the section of the kit of materials. Your new officers have to be filed by July 1st. Be sure you file those new officers by July 1st with the directions here. Everything for that is on page 65. Print that out and use that. All right, guys, so that is really how you win the year. It's really the audit and the taxes. Those are the two most important things that I'm going to share with you in this call, is how to end that. Do not worry. You need your voting to happen for your new president, whatever. Do not be worried about what next year's budget needs to look like. That is for next year's board. And those decisions cannot and should not be made and determined until you are through your audit. The audit gets transmitted to the CPA or the audit team. Nothing expenditure happens. I would not touch your expenses. You can start kind of drafting a budget, but I would wait until you have a full understanding of where your finances are, and you can confirm that in the audit before you actually begin to roll out and vote upon a budget, which we'll talk about at the beginning of next year. Okay. Two big things. We kind of went through them, but if you have questions and you need to reach out to us, please do so. My email is VP Leadership, at browardptsa.org. And you can reach any of us at Broward PTSA. Our website is browardptsa.org as well. And you will see some resources there. I'm going to share with you, because now we have some great things coming up. I'll share with you my screen again, and I'm going to share with you our PTA calendar of the fun items that we're going to have coming. So as you see, we have a busy, busy time coming up, and we, have been meeting with units along the way. Today's leadership training is in the calendar. This calendar can be found on our PTSA website under What's Happening Calendars. There's, let's see, there are going to be some great things ahead. So the Florida PTA Awards that we talked about, the deadline is coming up on May 1st. And your dues deadline, all dues need to be paid to Florida PTA by May 1st. But let's go look at May, because I want to show you some interesting dates and some experiences. On May 23rd, on Tuesday, probably, I don't see the time in there yet, but around 6-ish, we're still working on the venue, to my understanding, there will be a new officers workshop for every officer that is on your unit. The highly recommended training for them from 6 to 9, I believe, or 6 to 8-ish. We want to be sure that you attend. Put it on your calendar, and we will send invites. May 23rd. Then on the, I'm going to go forward. On the calendar for Florida is on June 22nd. We have a national PTA conference virtually. We invite you to attend that. You can look up the directions how to attend on the national PTA website and to register. Moving ahead as well, on July 13th through the 16th, you don't want to miss this. Put it on your calendar. Great time. Start registering now. If it's in your budget, you absolutely can and should register because it will be available. Pardon me while I step away. But send your officers to the Florida PTA Leadership Convention in Orlando. It's a fun time. Broward is going to have one of the best parties that we have as to be had, because we like to fellowship and spend time with one another. So we look forward to that time, but we also look forward to the great learning that will take place on that day. And we're asking every unit, if you can attend, it's in your budget and it's available, please do consider attending and make every effort that you can as well. On May 27th, coming up just right around the corner, we are having our family picnic, and I don't see it listed in the calendar, but it is up on our Facebook page, and I will get there here in a moment and share that with you. So come to our family picnic on May 27th. The tickets are $5, and you will be able to be a part of that. It's going to be outside in a nice pavilion. We're recommending you bring your children, have a great time, and join us. That's May 27th. I'm going to see if I can, I'm going to go to my Facebook to kind of show you that information. And then we also have our awards banquet coming up, and I'm going to stop screen sharing for just a second while I ensure I have the right dates on the awards banquet. So lots of great, cool things happening. I say that because not every county is fortunate enough, every school district, to have the wonderful resources that we have and the events that we have. And we just have a lot of great things going on. And that's because of you. It's because of your units, your leadership, your ability to mobilize your team and to ensure that they stay connected as well. The Eleanor Adler pat on the back ceremony. I'm going to actually move this into my inbox so I can share it with you. We sent an email today, by the way, on the Leadership Training Conference. And then I'm going to show you here the pat on the back training. It's going to be at Sunrise Middle School on April 27th. That's not the email I was going to show you, but it's April 27th at Sunrise Middle School. Here we go. And here's the information right there. We want you to join us. Please feel free to. You can RSVP. Nomination windows are open through April 16th. It's April 27th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. and Sunrise Middle School. So please do feel free to join us for that. Lots of great things coming up. We're terribly excited. I am so looking forward to sharing the end of the year with you all. I'm going to just finally go to our Broward County Council PTSA website. Or Facebook site, pardon me. Well, I see that that is me speaking at the board meeting. So I'm going to go back to, I think we have two different pages linked there. Let's see, Broward County Council. And I don't see it linked there either. But at any rate, we do have the announcement for the picnic coming up. We're inviting everyone to come. I will make sure that that gets out to everyone as well. All I can say is we just really want to see you there. We really want to see everyone enjoying this summer. You've worked very hard. You deserve a break. And we know that. So if you have any questions or any needs that are arising throughout the year, please feel free to reach out to us here at the Broward County Council. Email me if you need anything. Vice President, or I'm sorry, VP Leadership at browardptsa.org. You can always reach our president, Sharon Pazlowski, at president at browardptsa.org as well. Have a fantastic end of the year. This will be the last time you'll see me probably until we are in person and then again virtually in, I believe, September. Please have a safe summer, a very restful time. Thank you for all the work you've done. I look forward to seeing you right back here as we continue this hard, great, productive work in 2023-24. Thank you, everyone, for everything you have done on behalf of Broward County Council PTSA. You're all heroes, and you deserve a huge pat on the back. Have a great summer.